First, let me get something out of the way. I like StarCraft 2, but here's the rub. StarCraft 2 has been out nearly a year. Because of Blizzard's exclusive digital distribution license they graciously offered themselves, its price remains £45 in the UK. To justify the purchase, this has to be a damn fine game, which, if you believe the critics, is exactly what you should get. A quick trip over to Metacritic reveals that 82 critics think positively of this game, whilst none think negatively of it, and none have got even so much as mixed views on it. Surely then, the best game ever created. Right? First of all, we buy the game and then download it. Except we can't because Battle.net is being weird. We finally managed to download the game at a modem's pace from the obviously crippled servers, and full credit, the installer recap of the StarCraft story and the music is top notch. And I'd like to note at this point that the music in the entire game is amazing, AAA stuff. I found myself tapping and humming along constantly throughout the game. After the installer, we have to get past the DRM, which again fails for mysterious reasons known only to Battle.net. Much frustrated clicking later, we finally managed to get into the game. This alone is sufficient reason to seriously diminish any game's review score under normal circumstances. I can only imagine the tribulations reviewers had to go through when the game was first released. I would find this acceptable for the initial release of an MMO, but for an RTS that has been released for over a year it is unacceptable. We're greeted with a pleasant user interface when we find our way into the single player and sit through some high quality cutscenes, unfortunately belying absolutely stock storytelling. The presentation is nice and many of the characters are genuinely likeable, and there's obviously a rich universe hidden underneath it, but it's very dull dialogue. The exposition that links into the game takes precedence over the story, leading to jarring disconnects between a nicely woven bit of backstory and tactical preaching as you near your given objective planet. The single player shows excellent variety, but reminds me of the old-fashioned platformers in the vein of Prince of Persia, where you step forward into a new battlefield area and are immediately set upon by a bunch of traps. Once you die, you know how to defeat the level. Each section of the game is either easily brushed aside under the weight of your actions per minute, or has a particular trick that, once you know it exists, can be countered very, very easily. If you don't get the mechanic of a mission, you'll be forced to waste 10 minutes flailing about with your base doing exactly the wrong thing, until you eventually fail and are forced back to the beginning. That said, the fact that the missions offer such variety and intrigue is a cut above the rest of the genre, and any criticism here shouldn't take away from the fact that single player is a finely crafted experience and a pleasant surprise with some unique features. In a manner that's suggestive of the entire game, it's not the gem that critics claimed it would be, but it's a good incremental improvement on what has come before. The persistent RPG elements have been done, but not with nearly so much success, and they fit in nicely, reminding me of the excellent experience I had with Unreal 2's similar mechanic. The true nature of StarCraft 2 becomes apparent in multiplayer. The game's mechanics are very different from the single player, and the urgency of build orders, battlefield awareness and quick counters that characterise competitive RTS games are not just present but ramped up to 11. Undoubtedly, this is a game aimed at tournament play, which leaves it feeling cold and clinical. If you're not looking to win a league or pad your win-loss ratio, then it serves largely as an exercise in raising your blood pressure as you furiously calculate all the variables to optimise your winning strategies. Yet again, this is not dire criticism, it's more of a personal preference, but once again I find myself wondering how there could be no dissent among critics, who are meant to represent the game to the breadth of their audience. There is no room here for casual play, leaving it exclusively as a playground for the ultra-competitive, who are not representative of the majority of RTS players I've played with, even in national tournaments. So here's the gripe. This is a great game, with great voice acting, superb music, clever gameplay and slick presentation. And yet it's nothing the critics claimed it would be. It's a mixed bag of top quality elements mixed in with some substandard ones, drawn from games of over a decade ago. To test this, I decided to pull out Command & Conquer Tiberian Sun from my shelf for a comparison. 3 asymmetric races, finely balanced, great variety, interesting plot, varied and fun missions, as well as excellent competitive play, and I couldn't help but then compare their respective prices. Is StarCraft 2 better than Tiberian Sun? No. It's not 45 times better. It simply isn't. It makes me resent Blizzard forcing me to pay an artificially inflated price for a game that doesn't add much that games before it, StarCraft 1 being the obvious, hadn't already done just fine. If you haven't played other games in the genre, don't let your competitive friends coach you into a buy. There are games in the genre that are much more reasonably priced, offering far better value for money. If you're an RTS veteran who enjoys a casual game of Command & Conquer or Supreme Commander, then StarCraft 2 won't offer you anything new for your money that isn't already in your collection. For the competitive, who love an actions per minute challenge, StarCraft 2 is a stable, clever refinement in a tricky genre. It's a cut above anything else and truly deserves to sit as king of the scene. But for everyone else, that refinement is not going to be worth £45 unless you have money to burn in a serious way. The critical reception to the game speaks more about the power of offering journalists VIP goodie bags than it does about the ultimate quality of the game. I've been Ruscio, these are my impressions of StarCraft 2, hope you've enjoyed it and thanks for listening.